Copy it down. I'm not talking just the talk. Copy it down.
Yeah.
Copy it down. Answer the question. How are they the same? How are they different? Is that the sentence starter? How are they the same? How are they different? We saw this kind of yesterday when we talked about converting fractions into percents. Is Donning covering? Is Donning coming?
It should be.
No, sorry. So how are they the same? How are they different? We'll give you guys one more minute. Writing it down. Somewhere I got written down. Perfect. Oh, those cameras are cool. It's like 2 of them. Scary. Got everything. So if someone's like on their AirPods, like you can like catch it right away and go back to like the footage and like find them.
Maybe.
Should. All right. So who wants to share how these are the same, how these are different? Yeah. All right. Let's go with someone that's always paying attention and focus. Jonathan, how are these the same? How are these different?
They're all numbers.
We're all numbers. Man, you're in 8th grade getting that answer. That's cool. Lupe, how are these the same? How are these different? Yeah. So those both have 75. How would I convert this decimal to a percent? So they are kind of the same. How would I convert that decimal to a percent?
Moving the decimal?
How many spaces?
2.
2. Yeah. So these are the same, right? If I move it over 2 spaces, this would be turned into a percent. So we can say those are exactly the same, right? 0.75 and 75%. If I made 3 divided by 4 into a decimal, right? What's 3 divided by 4 as a decimal? You guys will have to calculate.
0.75.
0.75, right? And 0.75 is how much percent?
75.
75. So we know A, B, and C are the same. Let's try the last one. So it's also 0.75. And this is also going to be 75%. So what we're going to look at today is relative frequency, right? So the way we do relative frequency is that we take the current possibilities and divide it by all the possible outcomes. So we're going to look at those 2 words real quick. This will give you a better understanding of what it is. So first we're going to look at is relative. So I want you guys to talk to your partner. What does relative mean to you? Or what's a synonym for relative?
Relative, family.
Family? And families are what?
Same.
Related, right? So these are related to each other, right? So we have another synonym. So this is related. Has anyone heard the word frequency?
Yes.
What does frequency mean?
Over.
Okay, you're right. Over and what? Over and over. So frequency is how often something happens. So how often? Yep. I'm gonna write this down. So what we're looking for today is how often these events are occurring, right? We do this with surveys, we do this with data, right? We analyze things to see how often it occurs. Yep. So we're going to copy these 2 tables, right? This is an example of relative frequency, right? We're comparing 2 different categories and we're figuring out how often it occurs. So these are 8th graders being interviewed, right? And we're asking them what type of genre of game is their favorite. So we can use this to answer different questions about the general population. You can copy it down. So we'll be talking about the difference between row frequency. Okay, look outside. And column frequency. Hello. So we're gonna pause real quick. So we're talking about how to find it. So if I'm looking at this table right here on top, oh, okay, we're connected. So if I'm looking at the table, so what is going at the table? What is our total amount of outcomes?
Wait.
We have to go to the restroom, right?
No, I was gonna ask, we're supposed to write the chart down.
Yep. So if we're looking at the chart, we said that a couple times though. So if we're looking at the chart, what is the total amount of outcomes? 62, right? So that's the total amount of possibilities. So for the first one, we have 62 right here. And we're going to divide it by the current possibilities, right? So if you look at the first box in our table, right? How often did that event occur? 21 times. And if I divide it, I'll get a decimal. And if I make it a percent, I will figure out the percent of times this event happened, right? So if I was to randomly survey 8th graders, right, at this school, 30% of the time, based on what I have, right, this event should occur, right? They should like it. So this helps us figure out how often something happens, or what a population likes, right? So if I want to sell a t-shirt, I want to design a t-shirt. Before I start selling it, I want to know what people like, right? If I just start selling something and making this product, right, and no one wants it, right, I'm losing money, right? So what if I, before I sold my t-shirt, I did this survey instead, and I made what they wanted, right? Wouldn't that be a lot smarter?
Yeah.
So what we're going to do, we're going to be calculating a frequency table. So all we're going to do is figure out what percent of the time it happens. So, we're going to find the percentage of these ones. I'm going to start with zoom out. We're going to copy that one too. You don't need the iPhone. We're going to talk about row relative frequency. And you need to know what a row is. So if I'm looking at this, right, a row, we have a table, we have a row, we have a column. So is a row going left or right, or up or down? Up or down. If you're rowing your boat, right, what direction are you going? Up and down. Side to side. Side to side. So our rows are right here. We have row 1, row 2, and row 3. So what we're going to do, we're going to calculate the amount of times the event occurs. Yep. Jonathan, you just go to the office. You're not doing anything. Like, you haven't followed instructions. Like, you can only copy down one thing, and like, they've been here like 10 minutes. You copy down like the bare minimum. Like, not even the bare minimum. Sorry. So maybe a couple, maybe one more minute to get that copied down. All we're going to do is figure out the percent of the time these events occur. So I'm going to go over a few, and then have you guys go into groups, and you guys are going to do the rest. You do draw the bottom one too. All I want is to be blank except the top row and the left column. All right, so what we're going to do, we're going to look at our first row. So looking at this row right here. So for the first row, Carlos, what is the total amount of outcomes for the first row? You don't know, just look at the row. What's the total for the first row? 51, right? So our total number of outcomes for our first row is 51. And then, long. What is our first possibility? So looking at our first box on the other table, right? How many times did that event occur? So looking at younger than 30 that like podcasts, how many times did that event occur? 61. So 61 would be podcast and total, right? We're looking at the first row right here, right? We know the total is 51. How many times did that event occur for our first box? 12. That is the other box. So who can tell me, Janessa, how many times did that first event occur?
51 times.
51 times is the total amount of like possibilities, right? 49 or 39. And all we're going to do, we're going to divide those two to get a decimal. If you have a calculator, what's 39 divided by 51?
0.30.
So we're going to divide those two. We got 39 divided by 51. So we get this big number, right? So we're going to round to the nearest number. So this would be 0.76. And what's 0.76 as a percent? 76%. So we got 76%. So we're going to do the next one. So the next one, same number of outcomes is still 51. How many times did this event occur? 12. So we got 12 divided by 51. We're going to do the same thing on our calculator. Do 12 divided by 51. So we're going to do 12 divided by 51. So we got 20.235. And they're going to round up to 24%. And the last one, right? This one's easy. We got 51 divided by 51. 51 divided by 51 is what? That's such a good answer. Man, you're going to be in high school pretty soon. That's great. But 51 divided by 51? 1. And 1 as a percent is how much percent? 100%. Right, so I'll put you guys into groups real quick. You guys are going to finish the rest of the table. You guys are going to stand up and go to those groups in a second. So find your groups. Unless you're in group 8, I will put you guys into your own groups. So find your groups 1 through 7. Go to your groups. Take your paper with you, yes. You guys have 30 seconds to get your group.
Hey, Ross.
This whole year too. All right. So you guys are gonna finish the rest of the table. You're gonna figure out the relative frequency for the rest of the table. So you guys do your groups standing up, unless you're Jasmine, Guadalupe, and Elena. So you guys go to your groups. And you guys next to your board, so I know who's in which group. Ezekiel, you're in group 2. Right here. So waiting for Sophia over here, group 2. And then we have Elena go to group 2. I'm going to have Lupe go to group 1. And then Jasmine, you'll also go to group 1. So you guys are going to finish the rest of the table. So you guys can copy the table on the board with your marker. You guys do need a calculator. I'm going to tell you who's writing and who's calculating. You can erase that. That's a different question. So I need eyes and ears for a second. So for group 1, I'm going to say that Harmony is writing. I'm going to say that Lupe is the calculator, calculating things. For group 2, I'm going to say Ezekiel is writing. Elena is the calculator. Group 3, I'm going to say that Mia is writing. Eli's the calculator. Group 4, I'm going to say that Kayla is writing. Josh is the calculator. I'm going to say you're the writer, Jacob, and then you're the calculator.
Hey,
And then next group.
Oh, you're the calculator.
I'm going to say that Gael is writing, Charlotte is the calculator. I'm going to say that Mireya is writing, you're the calculator. You got it. Say to me just if you need a marker.
Me too.
Like socks. Why your eyes are going?
You guys have complete the table.
Oh, you messed up. It's 50.
You're not
I cannot do. Oh, this one's short.
You're using the numbers from the top, but you're making the table on the bottom. Yep, that's the box right here.
45%.
So guys, I need the tables being drawn. I know that you guys are doing it, that's correct, but need the tables. Yep, we're gonna build that on the board. Second table.
I say table out.
You have a calculator or what?
So that one, do we just?
So that is correct, we want to make the table. So that'll be this box right here, right? So you have or it might be that box right here, right? That is correct, we want to make sure the table. So we'll make it percent.
You're not ready now?
That's my stuff. Did you hear what he said? That's the worst thing someone could tell me.
You want to make the table. So just, good.
First I found out about this.
You're not promoting? Thank God, yeah.
No.
Yes. How do you know they haven't called me?
On roll, we'll do this. Can you see that? On roll.
What's to right?
Act like kids still, and you're gonna be in high school. I'm just telling you guys.
Mommy said.
Fuck bitch.
What's last year? Who's a young
So make sure you guys put in a table.
No! I'm stuck on the last part. I don't get the last part.
So you use the same number. So it would be 49 divided by 49. So each time you do it, it's this divided by this, right? This, the last one you're just dividing the same number. So like the last one would be 49 divided by 49.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah.
You said right.
Exactly.
Oh my God. See you over.
Mia, how'd you guys get 45%? What did you divide?
Oh, me?
Okay. Eli, how did I get 55%?
And you still look on. Yeah, what's wrong? It's slow.
Girls and children.
12 divided by 26?
I did?
So she divided by 22 to 49 to get this box, right? What would you divide to get this box right here? Yep. So she did 22 and 49 to find that box, right? What would you divide to find this box? Jacob, stand up. 27 and what number?
It's in my backpack. It's in my backpack. Yeah. Go look at my backpack.
So look right here. What's the total for this row, for the middle row? Yep.
What is?
Yep.
How much?
49. So it's 27 divided by what? The total, right? So we do that to figure out how many possible outcomes, right? So if I divide these two, I figure out how many, what percent of the time it occurs. So like for this one, right? This one would be 61 divided by what? Yep. Not hard. So guys, I want you guys to look at this board over here. So some of you guys, run your eyes real quick. So you want to make sure your board is in table form like we have right here, or you have them like we have in group 1. So you'll make sure it looks like a table. Let's see real quick. Jacob over here. How'd you guys get, or how'd you get 61? What did you divide? What did you divide it?
61.
So if you look at the original table, right? What was the total? What did you divide it?
Why you laugh like that?
Yep, 61. I'll do the middle and the 39.
I play this later, like
Always a total. No matter what you do, right?
39.
Take two numbers, divide it with a total. That's easy. In a row. Question. So when we're total, right, this should always be 100%. Not for, so only for this one. So I did that, I was very fast.
don't try to let these skip the
So it's 100, right? And this one was what?
So
61 divided by 100. How much is 61?
So,
Yeah.
it doesn't say Josh, it says
Yeah.
Josh. For real.
Question. So what was the total for this row right here? 100. So what was the first number right here? So 61 divided by 100. So 61 on top.
Ah, your smartness.
Alright, if you guys are done with the table, we'll give you guys some questions to answer. Just like you can answer here.
I'm gonna cry on the
So, you're answering this question. If you guys are done with the table. So using this table, right? Do people older than 30 prefer podcast or audiobook? Your answer to that question. That's the first question. And the second question is, people younger than 30, right? Do they like podcast or audiobook? Based on using the percent of the table. So first one, people older than 30, right? Do they prefer audiobooks or podcasts?
Ashley, I'm looking for more.
Alright, so we're gonna start heading back to our table. Carlos. Alright guys, back to your table. Back to your seats. Back to your seats, Josh, hurry, back to your seats. Alright, so we're going to complete this table real quick. We're going to answer some questions based on the table. So, for this box right here, what did you guys get? How many percent did we get for that box right there? 45 or 44? So 45%. And this one, what did you guys get? 55.
Yeah.
And then our total is 100%. What was this box on the corner right here?
It was 6 over 100.
51%. And then what was this one right here?
It was 39 over 100.
39%. Alright, so we're going to use this table to answer a few questions. I'm going to have you guys do this on your own in a second. Yeah, you're on your own. So, if I'm looking at the table, we're talking about people younger than 30, people older than 30, right? So, if I'm younger than 30, right? Based on what we have here, right? Would I like to? It's funny. It's all fun and games. High school is going to be next year. It's not going to be fun. We're not passing our classes. So, if we're older than 30, are we more likely going to like audiobooks or podcasts?
Podcast. I mean, audiobook.
Why is it audiobooks and not podcasts?
It's older. That's what they like.
Because they can hear instead of reading.
So, yes, that's true, but based on the table, right? Based on the information on the table, why is audiobooks better? Or like why? What does it tell us?
Because it has
Because it occurred more times.
It occurred more times, right? So it occurred 55% of the time. The other one occurred 45% of the time. So if I'm younger, right? Younger than 30, what do I prefer? Podcast or audiobook? Podcast. Why is it podcast?
So we can hear.
I need like a mathematical answer.
Oh.
We have more books.
That's more votes.
Has more votes. And what percent of the time did it occur? 76, right? So if I was going to ask someone, right? 76% of the time, they're going to say podcast. So we're going to do problem number 1.
Wait, we're talking about podcast like the one we were talking about.
Yeah. So I just want to pass this out. You're going to do question 1. You guys are going to find the row frequency for these questions. You're going to find the row frequency. You're going to use the total. You're going to divide it by the current box. You're going to find the percent. Carlos, go inside. Yeah, you know this is on video, right?
What was I doing?
You just don't care about your education. Go outside. Go. You're showing me it.
Do we do it?
Yeah, you guys do it. So you're going to find the row frequency for the first box. Number 1 is
Wait, is that the same one we did on board?
similar. Yep, similar, same number. Question. Yep, because it's a row frequency, they should all equal 100%. Yep. So, we're looking right here. So we're going to divide two things, right? So what is the total for the first row? It literally says on the top of the table. What's the total? 25. So the first one I did 18 divided by 25. The second one they're going to do what? What are you going to divide? Yep, 7 and 25. No, don't open it. Yep, 7 divided by 25. 28%.
Wait.
Yeah, don't.
Do I add? I'm gonna add it.
You can do that, yeah. So 72 plus 28. You can do that, yeah. Okay, like how much attention? You have a mass? Yeah. Yeah, put percent, yep. So what is the total for the final one? That's great, we have a very, yep, so 31 divided by 50. Yep. Yep, we do the next one. So do the next one. Yep, do the next one. Uh-huh. It should be 100%. So total, so the total means everything divided by everything, right? So it's a total, it's automatically gonna be 100%. Because that's everything together. It's like all of these should be 100%, so you're right. Yeah. What else, right? Okay, so, you notice for this first table, they divided 18 and 25, right? What's the total for the first row? 25, right? So for this one, we're gonna do what two numbers? Are you, no, 25, right? What's the first number? We're gonna divide. So they did that, yeah, they did that 18, 25. What would the next one be? And the last one, easiest, so kind of confuse people, was 25 divided by 25. Can you calculate it? Uh-huh. It's 0.363, that's closer to 36, not 37. Let's see.
Oh, going across that next one, that's.
Oh, I think we did. So 14 divided by 22. 63. So that makes more sense. 63, 36, yeah. Question? Try to do the next one, will, the last one. Question? 436. Right, we're on the next page.
Wait, what was the number? It's 20 over 40. And it's 25.
20 divided by
I'll
2.
go closer to the, original number. 50%?
It is 50%, yeah.
What's the decimal?
I just told you. It's 0.5.
It's just 0.5?
0.5.
Oh, that would be 50%. I thought you meant 0.5 of a number.
The other side.
Yeah, you're gonna love the back.
I feel like your meat is even good.
Ew.
The sassiness in here. Hey, don't do that. Oh.
So look at the decimal. So it says, so 37 and a half, right? Is 37 and a half closer to 37 or 38? Remember, if it's 5, we go up or we stay the same? Go up, so 38. You do the back one, yep.
We do number 4?
Yep. Hold on. If you finish early, there's a challenge probably you have to do. It's on page 768. That's number 3.
What do you do?
You can do it. Why don't you do it? You can do it.
What do
You know how to do it. You can do
Because
it.
it's 0.371. What the heck is that?
So that is a decimal, right? So write out the decimal.
That will be.
Yep. So it's 0.375. So we have two options right here, right? So to make it a percent, we move it how many decimals places? What would you guys say? So 2. Yep. So 1, 2. So that's gonna become 37.5. I can leave it as 37.5, or I can round up. So do you want to round up to 38, or do you want to leave this 37.5? 38. Yeah. So 38%. So do the question on the board in your book. Make sure you're making percent, so here we go. So it should have to be 100, right? So 37. Actually, it's really close. Everyone's told me opposite this time. Remember, okay, so round these up. So it'd be 38%, 38%, 25, right? So add those up. So they should be 100. You know it's off by a little bit because some people are on your something. There. Yeah, she did it on there. Make sure you do that question on that page. Do awesome. Question? So what's it asking? How might this inform the target relative purpose of this Oh, you would tell you them both. So we have 3 different sports, right? So based on this, right, what's the most popular sport? We have 38. So either we mark it to soccer or to what? That's because they're most popular, right? So if I'm branding and creating something, right, it wants to be the most popular thing, right? So if I'm like with a bunch of chess people, right, would I market soccer to them? Alright, market chess. Okay, 4 more minutes. 4 more minutes. Done? Show me what we divided it by.
Oh.
What did you get for 30 over 80.
38%.
38?
30 over 80? Should you try to, well, you rounded up, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah, you rounded up. So it's 37.5, you rounded up to 38.
Isn't it supposed to be?
Because it was, so I think it was 37.5.
Yeah.
And what she did is she rounded up to 38. So if it's like a 5, 5 means to round up.
Really?
Uh-huh. If it's less than 5, you stay the same. Hello? Hi, Basega. I was being like videoed and just refused to do anything at all. You like need to take notes. No, I was being videoed for like my lesson, and he wasn't like refusing to do anything at all. Yeah, it was just more like it's that. Yeah, bye. Bye. Are you okay? What's your question? So I said to Harmony, show your body once you do that one. Show your body. See? So remember we have to up, right? This column should always be what? Look over here, all these are what? Sure, so they add up to 100. Make sure to check they add up to 100. So,
And I think she got the
Any questions? Anything that's relaxing? Yep. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're getting close to the end of the period. So you guys can start putting stuff away. I'm going to start collecting the paper. Maybe someone to collect them for me. Who maybe got it? Make sure you guys are staying seated. Alright, you guys stay seated. That's the one thing I said. Stay seated.
Did you finish it? Are we still in the same groups? Or is it the rows still? It's still the rows or is it still rows? Ooh, yes. I guess. You can still see wherever you want.
Alright guys can line up.